My manager has problems with clock watchers. In my last job when I started, I would log in as soon as I got there, and if I had anything to finish up, I would do it before I left. I didn't mind as I'm a team player. This resulted in me doing 20 to 30 minutes a day unpaid, but I liked the company and liked a clear desk. Fast forward 2 years and my father-in-law was terminally ill. We got a call from the hospital telling us we had to get there ASAP as he didn't have long left. I told my manager and left at 3.45. Core hours were 10 to 4. The next month my pay was docked for half a day. I had already made 2 hours extra unpaid that week, but they told me they couldn't make exceptions in. The extra I did was my own decision. Alrighty then. I came in on the dot and left in the dot. I did this for 5 years. I worked to the letter of my contracted hours. My manager was talking to a new starter, and in my earshot she told him she hated clockwatchers who left on the dot, as this doesn't show company loyalty. I leaned over and replied, loyalty works both ways, and being docked half a day's pay for attending the deathbed of a beloved family member when I'd already done more than my weekly hours was cruel and unfeeling. So I show the company the same level of compassion they showed me. After all, rules are rules and exceptions cannot be made. The new starter started on the dot and left on the dot, as did the whole staff. I dread to think how many extra hours they lost over the whole department over the next few years. Good for you, op. It's so easy for workers to end up doing these little bit extras around their core hours. And so common for managers to not give a shit. The old principle of give and take, you give, they take. See? Nice and balanced. I absolutely love the manager I work for now because he has an ultra strict time clock policy. If you're working, you're on the clock. If you can't clock in because you're there early and you have to start working, he'll manually adjust your hours to put you on the clock for that time. I've had to travel for 2+ hours to go from my permanent station to an outlier to cover for someone who called off. And he makes sure I clock in at my home station before I head out there, because that additional drive time is legally a working expense for him. I get the choice of mileage reimbursement for my personal vehicle, using the company fuel card to fill my tank back up, or taking a company vehicle if one is available to use. This isn't just to pay employees what they're deserved, it's to cover his own ass as well. If one of us were to get hurt while working and we weren't clocked in, that's a massive lawsuit waiting to happen. This type of attitude towards us lower-level workers means that I'll bust my ass to go above and beyond in helping him make his job easier. The 20 to 30 minutes a day unpaid were illegal. I think docking you half a day's pay for 15 minutes absence might have been illegal too. You have to be paid for all of your hours worked. This smells like company that says it is a family. I went work to rule when I was put in a situation that required 16 hours overtime. GM said, tough shit. That's the job. Your salary. My response was, okay. I will be working to the second. A year later they had to pay me overtime on a scheme because the project had to stop if I wasn't there. My income went up by 25% that year without getting a raise. When I was a manager, I tried to be as flexible as possible as long as the team members did their job and the customers were happy. If they had to leave an hour early to grab a plane to go on vacation, they would make sure the work was done, and I had no problem at all with it. If one week we were on a tight schedule, they would stay an extra hour without being asked, and if it was more than that, I would let them come in late or leave early on a Friday. The next time there was not a big workload, I learned that having a happy team is better and they are more productive that way. Oddly enough, almost no one took advantage, abused this liberty. The two that did were not given these privileges and eventually were invited to leave the project or the company in one case. I was working as a general office manager for a small company. The office was above the business showroom. One day I was asked to mind the store, whilst the receptionist took 30 minutes for lunch. I could then go to lunch when she returned. She was 15 minutes late returning from lunch and 5 minutes before her return an extremely difficult, pedantic customer walked in. I assumed the receptionist would take over, but she refused. "It's your customer." She sat at her desk and the phone rang. She didn't answer it. For the next 2 hours I dealt with the customer and the phone rang unanswered. At 3 o'clock she stood up and walked out. "I'm just having a tea break. If the phone rings, can you answer it? They don't seem to be picking up upstairs." She left the room and the customer made some remark about the people upstairs. I replied, "I am the person upstairs." Single quote. By 5 o'clock I eventually satisfied the customer's requirements, got the order, and returned to the upstairs office. The owner of the company was now present and I explained what had happened. He said he would have words with the receptionist and I should go home 30 minutes early since I hadn't had a break. No action was taken about the receptionist and I was docked 1 hour pay for finishing early. The order was worth £1,000 and a showroom operative would have made a sizable commission from the deal. I got nothing. My loyalty to the company waned somewhat after that. Faye. I ran a contracting firm for 40+ years and it would not have occurred to me to dock you for that 15 minutes. Much less anything more. Never work off the clock no matter how good the company. If you happen to get hurt, there is no way to get workman's comp. Hell yes. If that's their attitude in the way they deal with workers' serious life emergencies, fuck *M. It's amazing what a big difference little things in management can make. I have a great manager. And as such, we don't mind working extra when needed. He makes it clear that we have comp time when we work extra. And if he notices someone staying late, he'll remind them, "Hey, let me know when you plan on using that comp time you earned the other day." And actually make sure they use it. Your employer may have broken the law by docking your pay in that manner. Of course, this is dependent on the date and location this occurred on. Reading posts like this always amazes me how many shitty people become managers. Whereas I act the opposite and have imposter syndrome in the management role I'm in. Yeah. I think that still qualifies as wage theft. Should got in writing admitting that you do hours unpaid every week then taken them to court for the money. Also, they can't deduct a half day's pay if you leave 15 minutes early. You didn't go anywhere near as malicious on them as I would have. I was a few months into my new job and used to come in 30 to 40 minutes early every day and stay late. Occasionally when I was on a roll. I've always done that and enjoy doing good work and being productive. I saw that my coworkers began lining up at the door at 4:55 p.m. It was weird, but okay. Then I realized one day when I arrived at 9:03 a.m. that my boss made eye contact with me, looked at her watch and wrote down on her calendar that I arrived late. I began to notice she marked down everyone's arrival and departure, and that my extra time in the M made no difference if I wanted to leave at 4:58. I began arriving at exactly 9 a.m., sometimes hanging out in my car for a bit, and lining up at 4:55. I hated every second of it, but that company was not getting a single unpaid second out of me. I had a job once that was on an awkward bus route. My hours were 9 to 5, but the bus that was due to get me there at 8:50 was always late. And the bus that got me there at 8:30 was always late. So I used to get there and start work at 8:10 every morning. After work, if I got on a bus at 5:05, I would be home at 5:30. But the next bus always got stuck in rush hour traffic and I wouldn't be home until after 7. Because of this, I left on the dot at 5 until my manager pulled me aside and told me that I was expected to work until 5, not just be there till 5. So I wasn't allowed to start shutting down my computer until 5. I explained the bus situation and that I did an extra 50 minutes every day anyway, but he didn't care and offered the solution to buy a car. I was just about able to shut down at 5, run to the bus stop, often waving it down as it tried to leave, and normally get home at a reasonable time. Until my manager said I was leaving early and that I had to follow the clock on the wall, not the clock on my computer. Even proving to him that the wall clock was 2 minutes slow just made me a smartass in his eyes. So I started taking a book in with me and reading that instead of working between 8:10 and 9:00. Then at 9:00, when he asked why I wasn't working, I pointed out that the wall clock said it was 8:58. And since he was so strict with me, I didn't want to give him 50 minutes of my time every day any more. That evening, he called my agency, told them I was leaving at 4:45 every day and had me fired and blacklisted from getting a new job through them. I got into something similar, and I'm a software developer. I then used automation app on my phone to start the clock the moment I'm in office using Wi-Fi detection and remind me 30 minutes and 15 minutes and at exactly when it's time to leave. I still get to make use of the flexible hours they offered and at the same time work exactly 40 hours as required. I now enjoy chit-chat, getting to know others, joining conversations that sometimes get a little too long that I had to top up my tea twice, including waiting for the water to boil. 40 hours a week's turned out to be very comfortable compared to 30 hours working your ass off. If an employer complains about clock watching, but not unpaid overtime, they don't give a shit about you. Arguably, they don't care about you anyway. But that right there is just brazen, and most of them are so indoctrinated that they don't see it. The way you were treated was unconscionable, especially after all the extra work you put in for them. Good for you for standing up to your manager publicly and in earshot of the new employee. Hopefully you moved on to better circumstances.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.